Well, let's start with everyone. I have to related to the Federation, the Jewish Federation of Greater Catholics in the 2026 annual meeting. Mayor Kathy Gardner, and it's an honor to serve as the CEO. The Jewish Federation, Greater Dayton, along with the Jewish Community Relations Council, Jewish Family Services, and Jewish Foundation, works every day to fulfill our mission, caring for those in need, strengthening Jewish life, and creating connections among Jews all over. However, organizations will change lives. People do. You, our volunteers and donors, are the real heroes. You give your time, expertise, and resources for the betterment of Jewish Dayton, helping to create a vibrant and strong Jewish community. Excuse me, apologies. The Jewish Federation and its agencies, we say thank you. We are forever grateful for your generosity, passion, and vision. Our boards and committee members, in particular, is a driving force behind every program and service of the Federation and its agencies. They provide guidance every step of the way. Please welcome outgoing Jewish Federation President Dan Sweeney, who will recognize our outgoing board members.
It's my pleasure to recognize this year's outgoing board members of the Federation and its agencies. If I call your name, please come forward. Outgoing members of the Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton are Karen Bobby Hallis, Alyssa Dinsmore, John Freeman, Debbie Kirchman Klopp, Jesse Schell, and Mary Rita Weissman. Outgoing advisory board members for the Jewish Community Center are Judy Shessa, Janice Cohn, Wendy Lip, Gail Moskowitz, Jennifer Van Arsdalen, and Tony Moss. Outgoing advisory board member for the Jewish Community Relations Council is Judy Wall. Outgoing advisory board member for Jewish Administration for the Student Unions. Thank you for your dedicated service to our agencies. Now, please welcome Mr. Lyons, team and publisher, Dayton Jewish Conservative Institute. Ethics of the fathers, or perhaps studying the ethics of the parents. Ethics already. Fire stuff, a teacher. And I am here to publicly declare that I have ethics in life. And I've always wanted and looked for a mentor. I didn't get a mentor until halfway through my career. 12 years ago. I think it was Mark Gottlieb was just coming off his chair at the Film Fest committee. And I thought, well, maybe he needs something else to do. Thanks, Mark, I think you'd be willing to serve as advisor to the observer. And he agreed. And what a 12 years it has been. The Observer, we are 30 years old this year, and for almost half of them. And for almost half of that time, I have had the benefit of a mentor, friend, and advisor with a lifetime of experience in journalism and a good portion of that as the writer of editorial mandatory age information. And I don't know if Martin really understands, you understand the profound impact that you have. Not only have you been an astute teacher and so many times brought me back to basics and questioned the challenge why I was doing it, why I was doing it, but the most important thing that I learned from Martin, and I feel like for myself, is to be gentle. Martin has been such a gentle teacher in making sure that I understand the principles that he's talking about, not in an not in any kind of admonition way, in a very gentle way. And that has made all the difference. And our young writers taken with it, I have to always show them, okay, how do I phrase this? How do I put more? So I know every year is disgusting, but I call them the challenge and what sets my days when you come out of it all. Martin, please come up. Please. So the question is, what do you get a guy who is such a scholar and so passionate about history and politics and what's this wrong? Who's that? Who you get? I like wine. Who you like? That's shit. Who about history and politics? Also, about Jewish community. How do all these things? This is a print of George Washington's letter to the Jews on touring. And let me just one of the students. Very important. This is where George Washington talks about it is no more than celebration is spoken of as influence by the indulgence of one class of people and another enjoy the exercise of their own natural rights. And the government of the United States, which aims to bigotry no solution to persecution, no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens and giving it on all occasions their effectual support.
Well, thank you very much. Wonderful introduction, and with that, here's choice. Appreciate this opportunity to talk to this group because I have a specific message. Most of you can already agree with it. Personal in the field. This is a really good newspaper. You got that? Really good. It's surprisingly good. Thank you, Rob. I've worked for various different kinds of publications, and I'm surprised at how good this one is. A couple of reasons. One, the Jewish community here is so small. You would just judge from me. You would think this one would be a much bigger Jewish community there. We are just a big class here. The reason is this. We want to do my field. If an organization that is not about the news, not a news organization, decides to put out a news publication, it is probably not going to follow the news directly. It's going to have its interests. And there will be problems when an organization, people involved don't like them. It gets shunned aside from what to be. Nothing to deliver, it gets hemmed in by the interest. That's a good generalization. It's not always the case with regards to publications, but it's most different. But the observer has always been very good about following rules. That, which I can offer. It's a tribute not only to Marshall, but to the people who run the Federation at various capacities. And it's the reason that when Marshall asked me to take on the advisory role, honored and glad to do it. If the publication had not been what I just described, my personal job had been like I like Marshall Douglas. He was scared to be lying to his ability, his instincts and his values. He now has this great cash and experience in doing this, and he's just in a group that he's just got this. And I would stay out of his way. Much. We would have occasional lunch, and I would offer a couple of ideas and kind of his ideas. And I'm glad Marshall found it so useful. I found it to be much just enjoyable. Now, I think his job is going to be getting harder. It's getting harder each time because of world events. And it's likely to continue to get harder. As the Jewish community becomes more divided, that's going to make it harder, easier to follow the news determinedly. Sometimes alone, having different chances is not. But I know he's going to put Marshall in the hot seat. And I know he's ready for it. I know we don't have this community a person for it. He will continue to put up a good newspaper. And he will continue, I'm certain, to follow the news determinedly. I can offer. Thank you.
As we continue to honor those who are outgoing on our, we would like to say and thank Dan Sweet for serving as the Jewish Federation of Holy Games president for the last 2 years. Dan comes from a long line of community lay leaders, from grandmother Elaine Beckman, who has been much of her life serving the Dayton Jewish community, to his grandfather, Joe Bettman of blessed memory, who served as president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton from 1997 to 1999. There's no question that leadership runs deep in Dan's family. And now, 27 years after Joe completed his presidency, we find ourselves recognizing Dan for the same accomplishment. His involvement in Jewish Dayton went all the way back to his infancy. From his days as a just preschool student, to his times in BYO, to the countless committees, task force, and boards on which he served. Dan has experienced every one of our programs and services firsthand. While his tenure as Federation president comes to a close, I have no doubt Dan will continue to be an integral part of the Dayton Jewish community. And perhaps one day, Dan's children, Leighton Parker and Lily, are you listening? Will lead the Federation with the same zeal as their father. Thank you, Dan, for your leadership, your guidance, your passion on behalf of Jewish Dayton. And on behalf of the Jewish Federation, please accept this shofar so your voice can continue to be heard in our appreciation. Items. Ownership is.
Following individuals have been nominated for 2 terms as officers of the Jewish Federation Board of Trustees. Ray Flegel, President. Next meeting by default, immediate past question. Bill Donor, Secretary. Teddy Bloomberg, Treasurer. Ben Mazur, VP of Personnel. Dr. Josh Hackett, VP of Resource Development. And Neil Friedman, Officer at Large. Nominated to serve on the Jewish Federation Board of Directors are, with 1-year terms, Renee Friedman, Beverly Lewis, Mary Euro, with 2-year terms, Rabbi Label Agar, Juliet Glazer, Mark Gruberg, Adrian Miller, Sharon Schiff, Ann Schwartz, Melanie Bannon, and Dan Young. And for a 3-year term, Linda Novak. Nominated for 2-year terms to serve on the Jewish Community Center Great Dayton Advisory Board are Melanie Shannon, Chair, Annette Nathan, Vice Chair, Melissa Dinsmore, Immediate Past Chair. Nominated for a 1-year term to serve on the Jewish Community Relations Council Greater Dayton Advisory Board is Bonnie David Rice, Chair. Nominated for a 1-year term to serve on the Jewish Family Services Greater Dayton Advisory Board is Juliet Glazer, Chair. May I please have a motion to elect these individuals as president? May I please have a second? All those in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Would all the aforementioned incoming board members for the Jewish Federation and its agencies, whose names were just read, please stand. I'm honored to install our new board members who will lead the Federation and its agencies for the next several years. I'm fortunate to have a strong group of volunteers to direct policy for the Federation and its agencies. By your vote, you have confirmed that these individuals have the qualities necessary to lead us into the future. To our newly installed board members, we thank and congratulate each of you in accepting the responsibility as you continue your tradition of service to our community. You are now duly installed. You told the first time was social, immediate past present. And while I am forward to the gift of time that comes with it, I also know this work is even truly finished. Building and sustaining a vibrant, engaged Jewish community is not the work of one term or one leader. It is a shared calling that is passed from one generation to another and strengthened by every person who chooses to show up, connect, and help shape what comes next. I reread my remarks from 2 years ago when I was installed as president, and one line stood out to me. Referring to my childhood, I said, there was not a time I can remember feeling lack of Judaism in my everyday life. Looking back, I realized I may have been trying to create that same feeling for my kids and for the next generation. We send them to Sunday school and summer camp. We celebrate holidays. We gather around tables and traditions. And wonder whether Judaism feels woven into the fabric of their daily lives as a daily mind. For many reasons, it is not always easy to live Jewishly in today's world. Communities have shifted geographically, and our lives feel busier than ever. Belonging now requires real intentionality, and yet that intentionality is also where our greatest promise lies. So how do we as a federation evolve with our changing and growing needs? How do we make it easier for people to find one another, build relationships, and create community in ways that speak to them? One of the initiatives I had hoped to advance during my term as a Jewish agency state priority in establishing a more robust Jewish campus. I'm pleased that we are now in the midst of a feasibility study that will help guide us toward whatever that future should look like for our community. If you have not yet filled out the survey, please do so. I encourage others to do the same. Your voice matters, your input is deeply needed and appreciated. I will not bias your feedback by sharing the specifics I think you need, but through formal and informal conversations, it is clear to me that our community is yearning for deeper connections with other Jews and a variety of spaces to make those connections possible. 2 weeks ago, I attended the JFNA National Young Leadership Cabinet Retreat, and for a session on using data to build flourishing communities with Katie Blanchard, American Age Associate Vice President for Impact Technology. She later sent me a snapshot of our community's demographics based on the American Jewish Population Project out of Brandeis. A few data points stood out, and I believe they should not only give us food for thought, but reason for hope. Many of us who are engaged with Jewish organizations in Dayton agree that we are an aging and shrinking community. We've talked about that for years. Sometimes I think we've accepted it as an unchangeable fact. We've also accepted the idea that we are a community of 3,500, even when we see moments of new and youthful faces, some of those in the room tonight. And frankly, the community members we do know have moved away or passed on. We question why engagement in certain areas is down, why our overall financial support is stagnant. It feels like a natural progression. This population data tells a different story. It suggests we may be closer to 7,000. It suggests that 18 to 44-year-olds make up 42% of Jewish adults in our community, actually 4.5% higher than the average Jewish community in the United States. It also suggests that those 65 and older make up 4.5% less than the average community in the United States. Population data is never perfect, but these numbers are too important to ignore. They challenge the narrative we've been telling ourselves, and they invite us to imagine something larger. So where are all of these Jews? Many of them, quite simply, we do not yet know. But I see opportunity. We rightly see ourselves deeply rooted local Jewish community. We have much history to be proud of. We are also a community of new faces, new energy, and new possibilities. These are people who need to be welcomed, invited in, brought to the table. You cannot be everything to everyone. You can be more for your people if we choose to reach out, us, and know us. The theme of our cabinet retreat being encouraged. So I leave each of you with an invitation and with a charge. First, take the survey. The important visioning behind Jewish Dayton Dreams Big began 8 years ago. That was the moment Jewish Dayton does big. Now is the moment to help turn that dream into something real, lasting, and worthy of the generations who will inherit it. Second, we need those who are already engaged and those who are ready to engage to lean in, volunteer. If you have a passion, share it. If you have a great idea, bring it forward. Use it to create, strengthen, and build upon this incredible community. Whether through the JCC, JFS, your synagogue, or a simple Shabbat dinner around your own table, every act of welcome matters. If you want to host friends and newcomers, do it. You apply for a PJ Library microgrant to help with the costs. Encourage your kids to get involved. One of those kids who's been involved his entire life in this community is here with us today before he leaves for the Ohio State University on Wednesday, Bobby Gilbert, who was also selected to receive a scholarship through the Human College Scholarship Fund. Our community is strengthened not only by our institutions, but by the relationships we nurture, the doors we open, and the people we invite in. The future of Jewish thinking will not be built by waiting for someone else to create it. It will be built together, choosing connection, choosing possibility, choosing one another. And if we do that, if we lead from mess, fill it with intention and welcome with open hearts, then Jewish State will not simply remember the strength of its past, we will become the authors of its next chapter. So let's dream bigger, let's do bigger, and let's know what we got. I'm now thrilled to welcome Marnie Flagle as our next Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton Board President. I'll be there to support you and we'll be cheering on your success. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to follow Dan, she's so eloquent, and I like to see ditto, and then I can just sit down. You know, history a little bit. I came from a very small town, northeastern Ohio, called Falls. Radical Jesuit, one was Mark went up so. Right. What was the only Jewish person in high school? So, you know, I think this is school, however, more in Ohio, which is now I was confirmed. But I really was surprised and changed this. When we moved to Cincinnati when I was 16, a lot of Jewish people. That's change. Really, until I came to Dayton with my husband and still here, that I really felt like I was living a Jewish life. And it made a difference. It made a difference in my life. Thank you. But before I say anything else, I really want to thank Dan Sweeney for a lot of reasons. He was a wonderful leader, but he was extremely helpful to me as well. And I think that his 2 years, not only his 2 years as president, but all the years that he spent in different parts of the Jewish organizations really prepared him for his awesome responsibility as president. And I thank you. I guess now that also responsibilities to me. Fortunately, we have a great staff here, and Kathy is here to be our witness and CEO issues. Well, I have an excellent board, and I'm grateful for all of you who did volunteer. Continue to. Thank you. It's my hope that our federation will be a more welcome place for all Jews affiliated, but to make those connections between one another. And Dan talked about it so eloquently. Now we have so many diverse opinions, and it's important that we listen consciously to each other and not in an argumentative way. So one of my hopes is that we can institute a way of getting together and speaking to one another, even with those very diverse opinions, because when we choose, I think it's important to listen and prepare each other and to be able to dialogue. So those things that I found out, fortunately because of my grandmother, is that Greenville is doing just that. They're doing special occasions to meet together and learn to dialogue respectfully with one another. I know Kathy told me also that she knows some other places in India, and we hope that we can do that here. Secondly, I'd like to reinstitute something we did a number of years ago. And that's the Leadership Institute, so that especially younger folks can be brought up to understand what responsibilities are to each other, and to perhaps move into some positions that we're needed. So big leaders, and it's hard for some people, it's hard to do that, and hopefully we can help instruct people on how to do that. And lastly, I don't know how it is, but hopefully add career services and help you, especially if it could be a problem to folks that are changing jobs. But to resume, how to apply for different jobs. And so that helps large number of people who are staying, the number of Jews that are staying in the Miami Valley. We want to keep you here. We want to more people here. That's kind of strong. We want to encourage people to locate in the Green Bay area. And so that's my favorite thing. And I was the one that mentioned the survey. You've got some other examples about. It's really, really important to fill that out, send it back in, so get everybody's opinion on where we should go in the future. I'm not a long speaker. You're not going to hear a long speech. We wanted to very much thank you. And I'm going to take this very seriously of leading the Jewish community for the next 2 years. And fortunately, I have a great team to be working with me. I just want to thank you very much.
Let's welcome community member Helene Gordon to present the Past President's Award. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present the Past President Award. This award recognizes an individual who has provided exclusive services to our community. 2026 recipient is Linda Nova. When one first meets Linda, they often immediately notice her incredible kindness and warmth. Linda has a way of making people feel unseen and heard. Like she wants to understand them and know more about what they can do. Another thing one notices an unwavering commitment to the Dayton Jewish community. Linda currently serves on the Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton Board, Directors of the Cultural Arts and Book Council, Linda Sager, and the chair of the JCC Club. She has also served on the Jewish Community Center Advisory Board, was president of Temple Israel, and has participated in a number of other committees in our community. She was also the 2021 Abraham Woman of Valor honoree. If you had the privilege of volunteering alongside Linda, you know she was not a wallflower. Linda is a wealth of knowledge and ideas. She isn't afraid of respectively disagreeing with a fellow board member or committee member, and she shares her opinion. Linda is able to encourage in a complex conversation with an open mind and openness at situations from all sides. She fully examines it from rational and realistic perspective. It is clear Linda wants what is best for the entire Jewish community. You will find Linda supporting multiple programs throughout the Jewish flourish. Linda shows up ready to support local organizations and your global volunteers with a smile on her face. Thank you, Linda, for being you and acting what is meant to be community volunteer. Please join me in congratulating Linda. Thank you.
We have all heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, we'd like to paraphrase that to say, it takes a village of dedicated volunteers to move a project or program from inception to completion. From the spark of an idea through the formation of a committee, comes out as a planning, and finally the successful culmination of a project or program. This village of volunteers makes it happen. I am honored today to be a small part of this group of dedicated volunteers. I humbly thank you for myself and for recognizing the important role of volunteering in the Dayton Jewish community. Thank you so much.
Please welcome DNCC Executive Director Mark Jacobs. There's only one of you. You should be on.
Afternoon, everybody. The Robert A. Shapiro Award is presented annually to an individual who has provided outstanding and long-term service to the Jewish Federation of Greater Dayton. To further strengthen the recipient's Jewish community involvement and learning, a stipend is included that can be applied to a Jewish Federation-related meeting or mission trip in the U.S. or abroad. This year's recipient is Alan Chester. Attending programs throughout our community in New Falmouth. For years, Alan has been an active Jewish Dayton volunteer and supporter. His willingness to do just about anything for the betterment of the community is remarkable. Do you need somebody to help distribute monthly materials for a man? Alan is your man. Do you have an opening on your board or your committee? Alan is your man. And do you need somebody to dress up now? It's your man. He will do about anything. And the wonderful thing is, he not only does it, he always to the point where you ask him, and he does it with positivity and enthusiasm. Alan volunteers his time throughout the community in a variety of ways. He was the member of the Dayton Jewish International Film Festival Committee, Vice President of Religious Affairs at the Abraham Synagogue, a community cast member of the annual Purge Films, and an active member of Beth Abraham's Men's Club. Alan also volunteers his time with the Jewish Community Relations Council. You can find Alan at the food bank assistant alongside other Jewish Dayton volunteers as they complete a variety of activities to support the local community with food needs. Alan and his wife Judy attend a wide variety of events and programs supporting the time and efforts of our local organizations and their volunteers. In May 2023, Alan was honored as the Federation Jewish Men's Club KAO Region Man of the Year at its annual meeting. The award celebrates outstanding contributions to Jewish communal life, reflecting his active involvement in both synagogue and broader Jewish organizations. There is no doubt this honor is well deserved. Alan, you are an inspiration and a true mensch in every sense of the word. Thank you for your leadership, your dedication to the Jewish Dayton, and it is my privilege to present you with the Robert A. Shapiro.
Kathy gets to tell you how surprised he was to get the call from Kathy that I was going to be the recipient of this award this year. It, uh, it came on a very, as I have to say, sad day in our lives on July 1 of this year. That was the day a few years ago that our son passed away. So we try to, among other things, honor him by doing something on that day that he would have liked us to do, or he would have liked to have done with us. And I think he would have been very proud of me and of Judy. More about that later. So let's say that. Fast forward 1 year on July 1 of 2024. I'm on this. But when I think about her, it's a very different situation. My mom was 100 years old. Just a little bit about her because I think it kind of ties into the story. She grew up, I mean, she was Jewish, but not in any way an observant family. In the city of Jersey. In Jewish institutions, where she told me what years, at least a few years ago, she by an HA, which city, was back then. It's been a mortgage institution, and I think when they bought the first house in the 50s in Jersey, well, my mom wanted something more than she had done with me. And so they, I think they members close the family center, which he wanted referred to as the temple. Up until she was on the sisterhood board, she was on the synagogue board at various times. I don't even know. She was treasurer forever. Just amazing that at 100 she was the treasurer of this board. Yeah, she did. Just amazing. And so, you know, think about the people that came before you. We need to build upon them. Volunteer and all this being. I also think of my mother-in-law as Vincent Blessed Memory, who, in my life, Judy Finland, I received a lot of volunteer work because of the fact that she was full time to support her family. But I know, talking to Judy's office for she was like, they volunteered through the warranty for the troops. And so she too knew the importance of volunteers, and I really believe that you talk to people about your volunteers and learn what you can do and what you can do. And here I say, finally, my wife, Judy Gesson, not grandma. Straight. I can't begin to count the number of committees, meetings this woman has. I mean, I try to keep track, but I mean, it's just unbelievable. And so my heart, I would like to thank the board of the Jewish Federation of Notre Dame. We'd like to thank specifically, in addition, Kathy and Mark for this honor. One of the things I asked Kathy was for her to send me a list of people. We have won the Shapiro Award. Look at this list, and while I certainly didn't know all of them, I know that they were certainly a group and a bunch of individuals that I would be proud to be part of. Thank you all.
It is now my pleasure to welcome Melissa Sweeney and later Elaine Beckman, who will present the Joe and Elaine Beckman School Award. Next, Elaine. I guess it says you can't hear. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. In case you don't know, Pamela Sweeney, Joe and Elaine Beckman's daughter. This is Lily and Layton. They're great grandchildren. Parker's out here watching to make sure we do it right. So someone who truly gives back to the community. Beth Edelman is exactly the kind of person who comes to mind. Her volunteer work has been extensive, but what stands out even more from anything she has done is the devotion and heart she has brought to. She volunteers because she genuinely cares about people, about the community, and about making things better.
Arts Museum volunteer work is long, very and impressive. Over the years, she has been particularly dedicated to organizations committed to supporting and empowering women. The women. Advocating for human and civil rights and building bridges for our community. It has been awarded by WC and as a winner has received the award from Kansas City and finds the award from CCJ. She was also receiving women
Today we are honored to present the Joe and Elaine Beckman Sonic Award. Our parents were involved throughout their life with Jewish and community organizations, and for years we would see Beth and Mom working tirelessly in organizations together. My parents also shared a close friendship with Beth that went beyond their volunteer work together. They knew firsthand the kindness, generosity, and devotion that Beth brought to anything she was involved in.
This award is given to volunteers who are not just in the Jewish community, but also involved in making the community as a whole a better place. This well-deserved award is a wonderful recognition of all that Beth has given to both the Jewish and greater Dayton community. At a time when Beth is facing significant health challenges, it is especially meaningful for us to honor her years of dedication and service. We thank her for all that she has done, and all she has accomplished, and appreciate her years of service and unwavering commitment to make our community a better place. I would like to invite up Gail Moskowitz to accept this award for Beth.
It's just like I had my. That's all this.
You may wonder why I am accepting this for Beth. I don't think there's a time in my life that that wasn't in my life. We grew up together in Canton, Ohio, block apart. My aunt was married to her uncle, so we have, I guess we're sharing some common roots or something. We went to school together, we went to a whole state together. Just a fluke, we both ended up in Dayton. I'm married a Daytonian, she moved here for her job. So we've been together over 70 years, so to speak. Beth would have loved to have been here today. Unfortunately, she is in Stone Spring in Vandalia. She welcomes parents and visitors. Although don't tell her about this yet because she doesn't know about it yet. So, and I know if she were here, she would say she's very honored to receive this award, and she appreciates so much the Beckman family, everything that they have done for her, and everything. So she's very honored on this award. Thank you.
And now a quick double round of applause for all of our honorees. And please welcome Vice President Keith Gilbert.
It is my honor to introduce today's guest speaker, Andrew Brown. Andrew is President and CEO of the Consortium of Universities of the Washington Metropolitan Area, serving over 300,000 students in over 100,000 mates. A native of Dayton, he is a son of our new Federation President, Barney Flagle, and Dick Flagle of blessed memory. I'm sure as off my script, as Amy speaks today, you'll see some resemblances of Flagle that he is inherited from us. Andrew attended Central High School, American Senior School, in Royal. He also became a bar mitzvah and was confirmed at Temple Israel, where he received the Hans and Lottie Lieberman Achievement Award. Please welcome Andrew Flagle.
Hans and Lottie Lieberman Award, guided influence. Well, thank you so much. I am deeply honored to be here with you all today. As Keith just mentioned, I of course grew up in Dayton. And I promised I'm going to talk. I think it's worth knowing that my mom was a school teacher, a realtor, and a hotel manager. But I'm the first woman elected to the city council. I'm Russian in the largest nonprofit economic development organizations in the country that supported expansion of small businesses in our community and access to housing. And nevertheless, she showed up for nearly all of our school events and community events and brought us together and made Shabbat dinner every Sunday night. So I don't think it'll be a surprise to you as much as folks say I resemble my father. I'm going to take it as a compliment. But I went to college really wanting to be more like my mom. So I went to Washington, D.C., politics, go to law school. And then 4 years later, you can imagine my parents' reaction when I told them I was turning down law school to go into education. They sat shiver for many years. So, as you can see on the back of the program, I started my career at George Washington University, where I studied ways to diversify our enrollment. And that actually led me to imagine this day and age when I was recruited by Republicans, Senator Bob Dole, who recruited me to work on diversity in educational programs. That led me to with apologies, the University of Michigan. Good to see some fans in the audience. There's also a my wife and was had the opportunity to return to DC to be dean at George Mason University, where I was also advising the Jewish Student Association for over a decade.
The privilege of serving as senior vice president of Brandeis University, where Grant is currently attending. Where, if you don't know, Brandeis is the only research university founded by the Jewish community, and in my leadership role there, I've never had less than 5 different rabbis who have been to be at a team. I know you have a question to say. Talking about the perspective on higher education, I'm struck with three of the biggest assumptions that I think you find pretty commonly in the media and society. Those are that campuses are not safe places to be, that colleges and universities are policing and restricting speech, and that college is just far too expensive. Before that, I want to tell stories. Jewish told. Senior freshman, I just started at Brandeis. And I was in my first major, we were moving students in on orientation. They had all come, they were there with their parents. Many of you are familiar with loading things in the homes. It's easy to think. And in the midst of that, this mother comes fluttering up to me, right in the face. Furnish. And she says, Dr. Feigl. This is too long. Excuse me. She's showing up the students and everything. It's fun. The actual sort of needing help for us is happening. I haven't put any. Well, I want to assure you and anyone listening, I am not checking our students' checks or let's just be clear, no body checks. So I talked to 10, 15 minutes, pretty calmed out. And then about 2-3 weeks later, a young person came, knocked on my door, Dr. Feigl, can I speak with you? Sure. And she said, I was pleased in your department, but how long do I have to let my roommate's mother live with us? She was for orientation. She moved in and she had been I called her. I said, "You're living in my coach." She said, "Yes." She said, "I'm paying for it." She's still friends with me on Facebook. Like, I think, well, it's an amusing story of someone being very intense. The reality is, safety is what we perceive it to be. And we have increasingly had an assumption that colleges are less safe. The reality is a little bit different. There's actually, in Family Law, the Clery Act that requires all colleges and universities and law enforcement agencies to report any acts of crime on the campus, and they segregate all of the violence, physical crime, major crimes that happen. And that report, going back to 2011, found that for every 10,000 students on the college campus, there were only 20 that rose to that. 20 incidents for every 10,000 students. Last year, that rate had fallen to 16.9 incidents for every 10,000 students. So it's actually safer on our campuses than off if you just look at the rate of crime. But of course, in our community, we know that that's in a context of rising anti-Semitism. And I think the best for looking at that is my partners at the Anti-Defamation League, at ADL, who collect information, who do self-reporting, but they accumulate the information on its incidents. And there's no doubt those spiked dramatically in the end of the year on October 7th. That year, we saw the highest incidents in history. The rate has come down since then, but it remains higher than it was prior to October 7th. And as I talk to my peers at ADL, one of our challenges is that the reports have become harder to discern. And what I mean by that is, I used to do presentations on anti-Semitism. I used to be on panels that they would do with ADL around the country. They had a chart they would put up distinguishing comments that were anti-Israel, comments that were opposed to Zionism from anti-Semitism. It was actually a Venn diagram, because they would show the intersection when the comments began to observe anti-Semitic tropes. It's where they fell into anti-Semitism. But that's become harder and harder for folks to pull out. The reports they receive, it's harder for them to see those distinctions. And part of that is that the incidents themselves are often being precipitated by, I'll say, nefarious third-party organizations. 4 months after October 7th, I was called to one of our campuses. It actually is one of the smallest Hillels in my system. They only have a court director, bless her heart. She actually started her position on October 7th, can you imagine? And I was called because posters had gone up. There were protests, of course, occurring around the nation and in our city. Posters had gone up in their student union. Most of the posters were things we'd come to expect. Free Palestine, River to the Sea, and the genocide. Those what had the students concerned. I think the 50 or 60 posters, 5 saying end birth rate and its birthright and eliminate Hillel. So I came and met with the students. You can imagine their anxiety. And after assuring them that we could do everything we could to met with the student organization that had put up the posters. So last student organization, and they at first wanted to talk to me and why they were supporting the suicide. And I said, I understand your viewpoint, but can you tell me why these posters that say to end birthright and eliminate Hillel? And the room got quiet and they stared at me. And finally one of them said, what's birthright? What's Hillel? And when I told them, they were horrified. We don't want that from Jewish organization. Well, what can we apologize to? We actually hosted a meeting and apologized. We took down all of their posters. And we came to find out, like, someone says, well, where did you get these posters? We don't even know. They said, we went to a site and then we were testing. And here's the way to download them. We downloaded them and then we was not created by groups supporting the Palestinians. This was created by a white nationalist organization that was seeking to incite division on campus and all of the community. So this creates this tension, this incredible sense of division that is being sown on our campuses. And it comes down to that question of, do you feel? When I talk to the students at that institution, they said they felt, let's be clear, had threatened them. None of the posters expressed an overt threat, but they felt threatened. I walked around many of the protests around our community. We were very fortunate. Unlike other areas, they didn't block buildings. They didn't prevent students from going to different places on campus. There was a lot. It was what they were horrifying in some of the things they were saying, but you could go 1 block away and not hear anything. One of our Hillel directors, one of the biggest Jewish organizations in our region, says, no one's telling our students we can no consequence. If you don't want to be involved in the protest, don't go over. Many of the students felt threatened. So this then comes to this concept: how do we process the distinction between threat and harm? And that comes to the question of, do universities police and restrict speech? You know, there's a wonderful article by a student that I care about very deeply, and she talked about that for many years she had been uncomfortable in some Jewish spaces expressing her LGBTQ identity. And then after October 7th, felt uncomfortable in LGBTQ spaces expressing being Jewish. Things to when I would welcome students to my campuses. One of the lines that I would say is, if someone intends to do you harm, even if it's sacred for us to do everything we can to protect you, I will stand between you and those who wish to do you harm. But if they wish to make you uncomfortable, to challenge your ideas, then part of my responsibility is to make that possible, to help you become more uncomfortable with discomfort. Not everybody loves that. And that is really what universities are about. We are systems designed around allowing folks to provide challenging ideas. It is true what you read. If you look at all the data on universities, our faculty and staff tend to lead a little bit more to the left than to the conservative. The idea that ideas are actually restricted is a bit of a mythology. We have very few tools with which to restrict speech. If you think about it, if I wanted, and you know, in the midst of the protest, I felt like punish these students. I can't flog everybody. I can't lock them up. We really have only two tools at universities. And there's a really high standard. I can suspend or expel students. And students have a fiduciary relationship with their colleges and universities. So that standard for expulsion and suspension is and should be very, very high. Instead, what we strive toward is more dialogue, more discussion. And to be honest, that resonates with me as a member of the Jewish community, where we were taught, right? We should stay up till all hours debating even a single passage of Torah. Louis Brandeis, for whom the university was named the Supreme Court Justice, one of our biggest advocates for free speech, said sunlight is the best disinfectant. The answer to hate speech is more speech. So by and large, our universities have very few tools with which to address it, but we try to foster more dialogue, more discussion, and that's happening in the midst of what I would argue is the biggest financial crisis in the history of higher education. So when we say college is too expensive, the student price is high. Then the student price has risen faster than the rate of inflation. And you know, there are a lot of reasons for the costs of having gone up. The demand is higher for smaller classes. That's our major cost, is our faculty. Folks want more services on campus, better athletic facilities, better health support, and career services. All of that said, the biggest expansion in cost is in student financial aid, in scholarships and grades aid. So colleges and universities, as you know, give students who have financial need, they give chips for being a great, being academically gifted or a tuba player. And the National Association for College and University Business Officers, all of the data from the cost of college and how much discount every university provides altogether. The discount rate at universities last year was 57.9%, almost 53%. So for every dollar they brought in, every dollar that they charged, they only get just over 30 cents. So at discount rate, not everybody walks in and gets 60% off. Okay, some of it's a little negotiable. Some of it is, you know, there are the students who get full scholarships and partial scholarships, but who's paying the full price? It's very, very few individuals who are paying full high ticket, because most of them are international students. International students by year pay the largest amount. Because of the that international students are taking spaces away from US students, it's actually, you know, international students are funding as the English language. And unfortunately, international student enrollment has dropped dramatically. The number of visas being granted has fallen, and there is a perception that the United States is a less safe place to be. We are projecting 35 to 40% fewer international students this coming fall. Just one of my universities is projecting a loss of about $30 million going into this fall from international students. That's on top of loss of research funds, escalating costs of athletics. All of these things are in the same way. There's also one of our biggest impacts is that there are fewer students applying to college than ever before. It's just demography. The number of 18-year-olds has fallen precipitously. It falls even further through 2030. It's called the demographic cliff. 18 years ago, there were just fewer babies being. So we will see fewer students. It's actually about if there are young people applying to college in the next couple of years. It's a buyer's market. There are fewer students. But the financial crisis is going to fundamentally change how we do college. Organizations like mine are working on collaborations, everything from security to student health to try to save money. But we're also seeing colleges close programs, lay off faculty and staff. We're going to see more and more colleges and universities close. So this is an enormously challenging time, but there are things that give me hope. So before I take a few questions, I'll share two last stories. several years ago, I was invited to Pittsburgh at a national education conference where I was asked to host a panel of students from the area universities who won their diplomas. Exactly 1 year after the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. And that panel, which I thought would be painful, was incredibly uplifting. Those young people talked about coming together in the wake of that tragedy, supporting one another, becoming a more resilient Jewish community. And then the student president, said he came together, but also others came together for us. Night we got calls from the Muslim Student Association and Christian Student Association. And they all came to us next day. And we're there for us. And then the student from UPenn said, yeah, because we've been doing these interfaith phenomenons for months, and we knew them and we knew each other. And so they were there for us. So it's hard to remember in these moments of such intense polarization that there are ways that we pull together. And even in the midst of the protests, there was an incredible story from my area on NPR. Karen was trying to cover how bad the protests were getting, how students were pulling apart. And two students at one of our universities, the biggest allowance, so one of the biggest Muslim associations, came up to her to reach out to you. We're on opposite sides. We've never met, but we saw each other protesting. We realized how much we love alike. And in fact, that if we were walking down the street together, people would have thought that we're related, even that we're sisters. So we started talking. We found we actually have all these things in common in our families. And so we started a group, and now we're bringing hundreds of students together we don't agree about Israel. We don't agree about what's happening in the West Bank or in Gaza, but we like each other. We think we can do things together. We think we can get to know each other. And I am so grateful to have come out of this Jewish community. Those values. They taught me that we could be this big tent for Jews with every kind of observance of every kind of belief. They taught me it was okay to question and to wonder and to ask. So thank you. Thank you for being part of this Jewish Federation. Thank you for supporting my mother in this challenging role. Thank you for all that you do to come together. I'm grateful to be here with you. I look forward to all that you will continue to accomplish for Tikkun Olam, to heal. Thank you. I'm glad you. Microphone over there. So if there are any questions, please just raise your hand. I'll bring you the microphone.
I'm focused on first. Isn't about college level education. This legislature of Ohio, in their wisdom, has opted to give families where the parents earn 4 to 6 times what I earn, money to send their children to private schools. These private schools are religious. And I find this an abomination for a few reasons. One is it's taking money from public schools in a big way. And another is I don't know what the point of this is. Yeah. I understand that if the parents are sending their children to schools that maybe aren't so good, most of those parents don't have much money anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things that for all of us as parents is to get check over are our school serving kids. And one of the being questions for those of us that study education, we're highly incentivized to allow innovation in education. The public school systems are an incredible blessing for access. We're also in many areas of the world. And how do you facilitate innovation with basically excluding what ends up making these systems? is you end up facilitating the wealthiest individuals getting to other schools, and you don't end up increasing access. So I would say there are models that really challenge our ideas about how education can and should be done, and we need to find micro laboratories that allow for the proliferation of those different models. We can't, publics and privates, dealing with federal institutions, there are some amazing models that develop when we allow diversity and thought to flourish. But we should do that with an eye towards equity and access. Those are issues that can be in tension with one another, and we have to hold those both together to smaller students as well as we possibly can. Yeah, please. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so I have some about the college online for that. I heard.
It's hard to imagine because he's the tallest person in the room.
I guess I would like to challenge what you said about river to the sea. I believe that is something because it's basically saying we want all the Jews out of Israel, whether it's murdered or whatever. And like the statistics of crimes committed is disproportionately against Jewish students from all the small percentage we are. And what are universities doing to protect? And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of concern.
So the percentage of individuals harmed nationally versus disproportionately students of color low income students. So we right now, anti-Semitism is really not the incidence of the crime. But you identify exactly one of the questions we have to ask. If students or politicians or others use the term genocide, river to the sea, is it inherently anti-Semitic? I believe it is. Is it something? Is it unique? Is it my individual safety in this moment on this campus? For me to exclude someone from speaking on a campus, my belief is I kind of lean towards the Louis Brandeis belief in the idea that more speech is better. That we need to enable the opportunity for these individuals to hear from one another, including members of our own Jewish community. But I understand that when, one of the something last night, one of our challenges is that we use language about language being violence, and it gets convoluted with the idea of physical threat and violence. The responsibilities on campus is to protect our students from physical harm. Do we have a responsibility with levels of speech that we believe rise to the level of hate speech to shut that down? And one of my challenges having grown up in this community is I know this. More often than not, when there has been restrictions on speech, on words, they have been used against those of us in the minority more often than they have been used in the majority. And that it is so often those hate groups that are encouraging folks to lean into censorship, to lean into restrictions on words. So I'm wrestling with that idea. That does not mean no fear of anti-Semitism or the campuses feel safe. Physically, though, I think you can be assured good campuses, the cameras around campus for campus police. I actually run the police academy at the universities in DC, so I actually sit with the security officers and plan all our responsible right now planning for a race in the middle of the city. So just had a fight on the White House lawn since my life. But we do believe that by and large your children are safe on the campuses. And of their sense of safety, I think it's one that we have to consider. So I'll take one.
Sure. That's one reason musician.
Yeah.
Capacity, tell us more on a local level, a local college,
You have an amazing school of colleges and universities here. I was so lucky to get to know the presidents of Sinclair and President Aaron at UD. My goddaughter came back to DC to study musical theater. So we have a thriving group of colleges and universities, but the financial challenges are deep. Now, I think we're more likely on the periphery, the NAIOS are going to be really challenged to be sustained and thrive in this fiscal environment. So I think, the next couple of years will be very, I think what we will see is universities thinking about, do we need as much infrastructure as we can share lawyers, accountants, billing structures, because it's running small cities. The university, they have 14th century guild systems, well designed for efficiency. And so rethinking those structures is complicated, but I think really important. And what we see is institutions like Wright State will probably be in discussion with the university systems, with the public university systems, to think about, are there ways that we can operate more efficiently collectively? And that may mean fewer positions in place. And
as far as financial,
Seeing is that the protests were not heavy on these campuses, and that the reports of anti-Semitism have not been as thick as they've been in areas with larger Jewish communities in New York, DC, and Boston. But I won't speak for the institutions I have worked with. Yes, the young lady, also my niece, one of my favorite humans. Yes.
Clear everything you're saying about how distinguishing.
See, it's the name of her book. It's not my son high school would say. But
Just distinguishing the feeling of discomfort versus the actual threat. When I just graduated college recently, I found like that was thing that was really difficult for a lot of people I was around. And I was just wondering if there are any sort of ways that you facilitate having those conversations with students or with faculty.
yeah, there's some amazing groups, including some interfaith groups, that are really working on that dialogue. One of my favorites was a speaker that I worked with, actually at Brandeis, who used to welcome students and talk in terms of offering one another grace. The college was really go to make mistakes. I made a lot. Thank God there was no social media then. Yeah, I think you would. We don't have to share too much. The idea that you all live your lives in this fiction islands with cameras everywhere, with discussions everywhere, I think really does complicate it. So he said, in this environment, we are going to say the wrong things. We're going to use the wrong pronouns. We're going to use words that other people consider hateful, intentionally or unintentionally. We talk as a community, like Yom Kippur, about forgiving those who do ill in their hearts and ourselves when we do it intentionally or unintentionally, right? I'm sure you can see if I get the wording right. So I think that he just spoke beautifully, and I thought it was interesting as the team, but I thought it was almost this Jewish perspective on the importance of offering grace and forgiveness to ourselves and one another. And I think where that begins. Those students on that tiny campus I went to, it was hard for them to come into the room with that other student organization to let them apologize. I thought it was an act of extraordinary bravery. They felt threatened in that moment. But they came and they sat down and they listened to each other. They didn't agree, but they heard each other. And I believe to some extent forgave one. So I think a lot of this starts with teaching that it is okay that we make mistakes and giving ourselves that space for forgiveness. Okay, Mark, she's got it. It's up to you, Karen. She's waving at me and she got you. She's important.
Okay, last question.
One of the mockers raises their hand.
The piggybacks on what we just said.
You need to
Standing together on different campuses. Once you can. How do you facilitate? What mechanisms do you use to bring these groups together?
Yeah. Also, the most important tool I've used anywhere is food. I can sell food. I used to host And Mason Integrated High Distance was the largest, which I looked away from Peter Wells and from John, who used to host this beautiful Break the Fast each year. And folks would just come in and out whenever. If you broke it later, that's okay. If you broke it, for, that was okay. And so I started doing it. We would open our home. And later we had this huge Jewish community. We put up these huge tents on the front lawn. But we didn't just invite the Jews, we invited everybody. And I remember sitting with the sport team, which I don't think at the time had a Jew on. And they were like, and so we talked about what this meant. It opened up around the pizza banks, an opportunity for that discussion. So I think sometimes it's just that in providing us. So this I think is exactly to closing, Kathy. Having a space, having food, be more Jewish, right? So what you do here with this Jewish Federation is one of the ways that you foster that. Thank you all very much.